Good morning, fight fans. Here we are. MikesMMAPicks here with you for a quick card fight morning breakdown of UFC Philadelphia, which is slated to take place later on this evening. 13 fights. We've got a couple of folks coming in on short notice. Now this breakdown's done post weigh-ins, so we are ready to get things started. Hopefully Draftkings lineups are intact for folks. We can kick things off right away. We have a fight at the men's 135-pound division against we've got Alex Perez taking on Mark De La Rosa. Mark De La Rosa, the Bumblebee, who has floated around from 125 pounds to 135 pounds. We know De La Rosa, $7,000 in DraftKings, possesses some solid jiu-jitsu as well as some slick boxing. But I got to say, I think he's going to be outmatched here against an Alex Perez who's extremely motivated. Alex Perez, that is, we didn't get to see the best of him in the Joe Benavidez fight. There was a clash of heads that occurred midway during the first round. I was actually on Benavidez in that fight, and in a way I was second-guessing myself because Perez, not only is he on the rise, but he also has a 21-5 record. This is someone who has great hands, believes in himself. He took responsibility for the loss against Benavidez, but I got in on the line opened at -185. I thought that was a great line. Now he's up to -315. My pick in this fight is going to be Alex Perez. Take it however you'd like. He could win a decision. He could finish De La Rosa. I just don't think De La Rosa is going to be able to handle Perez's size, his strength, and his wrestling. If he wants to go there, Perez is willing to go there. All right. So next up in the women's 125-pound division, we have Sabina Mazau, who's coming in out of Colombia, right? 8,800 from a DraftKings perspective. She's taking on one of the most boring fighters in UFC history. I got to be honest, her fights are so difficult for me to watch. Marina Moroz, who's fighting out of the Ukraine. Moroz, +140 underdog. This fight should take place on the feet. It's expected to go to a decision at -325. I know Mazau's coming in with some hype here as the undefeated fighter, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Moroz squeak out a boring decision victory. This will be a bathroom break fight for me, and I want to just get that right out there. I'm going to be fading this fight in DraftKings. Next up, we have a very interesting matchup between Ray Borg and Casey Kenny. Casey Kenny coming in. This will be his second fight in 8 days. The fight does take place at 135 pounds. Kenny was a massive underdog. He's actually, the odds dropped significantly, so now he's sitting at +225. So he's still significant underdog. Kenny is your lowest priced fighter on the board for DraftKings at 6,800. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Ray Borg, who at 9,400, -245 favorite. We haven't seen him in 17 months. Borg is coming off of the loss to Demetrius Johnson. Looks like he's packed on some weight, missed weight last night, or missed weight yesterday morning. And That's concerning to go up 10 pounds and then miss weight. I mean, let's be real here. He has a child who's been suffering from uh, chronic medical situations, and that has to wear on him to some capacity. He's juggling so many responsibilities at home. Um, Kenny is an 11-1 fighter. Has a strong judo game. He is the taller fighter, which I think could put him at a disadvantage here. If I'm Ray Borg and this fight's happening on short notice, which it is, I would think Borg will try to take this fight to the ground as fast as he can, not mess around on the feet at all, and then work his transitions in. So Kenny's got to know that that's coming. I don't know if he can stop it or not. I hope he can. I'd like to see this fight drag out a little bit. At $6,800 on DraftKings, Kenny might be a decent punt because the fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 215. But I was early when this fight was first announced. I had more conviction in Borg winning, but the more interviews I watch and seeing Borg not take responsibility for his weight cut, and I'm really concerned. I think this is a dangerous fight, but I think it has the potential to put up big points in DraftKings. So tough call on this fight. Next fight is a very interesting one as well. We have the men's middleweight division, 185 pounds. Kevin Holland, 14-4 record, taking on Gerald Meerschaert. We saw him, Rufus Fort's fighter, who did not fare well against Jack Hermanson on home soil. Meerschaert, 7,300 DraftKings price. This fight is not expected to go to a decision. Kevin Holland, on the other hand, you have him at minus 185, 8,900 in DraftKings. I see distance being a factor in this fight. Meerschaert is going to try to get inside. I don't know if he's going to have success doing it. He may want to take Holland off of his base, despite Holland having a decent ground game. This fight, I think, for 8,900, I don't think we're going to see a tremendous high ownership of Holland. There are a few fighters towards the top end, and also fighters a few $100s lower that I think people are going to be gravitating towards. So I like Holland in this spot. Meerschaert is a game fighter, but he also seems to try to get it done early. So this fight, I'm going to pick Holland to win inside the distance. Next up, we have, I think this, Twitter has been obsessed with this fight since it opened. Kevin Aguilar against Enrique Barzola. Barzola, we know he's a Peruvian wrestler. He's a winner, 15-3-1 record, 8,200 on DraftKings, which is a fabulous price considering how many points he puts up on a regular basis. Taking on Aguilar, who he's got a great record himself, 16-1. Level of competition hasn't been there. Plus 115 underdog. Aguilar has heavy hands. It's concerning if Barzola isn't able to hold Aguilar down. Aguilar may be getting back to his feet, landing the heavier strikes. Barzola, this is an instance where how much do you trust his camp? He's fighting out of an American top team. His camp has to drill. I hope he sticks to this game plan, but they have to drill that he's got to be the wrestling heavy fighter, not deter from that game plan at all during this matchup. Barzola, high upside. Aguilar, I mean, if he lands a knockout punch early, then he could be on the winning lineup as well. So I think Besides the Gaethje Barbosa fight, I think you will want to be on one side of this fight if you plan on making money in DraftKings. But I like Barzola here. Hard to depend on Aguilar to land that knockout punch when you're if this fight does go to the judges, which is it is expected to go where it's supposed to go there. So look at it, it's minus 265 to go to a decision. If it goes to a decision, I think Barzola wins this handily. So that's my pick. Next fight, we have someone who I'm actually shocked that he still has a job in the UFC. Ross Pearson, 20-15 record, plus 375 underdog, 6,900 on DraftKings, taking on Des Green, who is from upstate New York, wrestler. I believe he went to Buffalo. Second highest priced fighter on the card at 9,300. Des Green has fought the likes of Prazeres. He's had some pretty tough competition. Des Green, he plays it safe for the most part. Ross Pearson as well. So I understand why folks would think this fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 355. To be honest, I think we're going to see a very aggressive Des Green here, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Des Green get the finish. I think the plus 265 that this fight ends within the distance is something to be looked at. I got Des Green here. From when you're playing DraftKings though, 9,300, you're going to need a lot of points, and I'm not sure if Des is going to get that for you. It all depends on his outlook and his aggression. Yeah, I think he can finish Ross Pearson. Pearson's there for the taking, so it's just a matter of if Des wants to do that. I don't think. I think he can take off the chains in this fight and go for the kill. It might be helpful for his next UFC contract as well. So I'm picking Des Green here, no doubt. Minus I think he's minus 420 as we speak. So we'll see. Next up, another short notice fight. We have Jessica Aguilar taking on Marina Rodriguez. Aguilar coming in at 7,100 as a plus 285 underdog. Aguilar, 36 years of age. She moves slow, like molasses in her last few fights. I don't put a lot of stock in the Escobar win. The Weili Zhang, I mean, look, that was you see how good Weili Zhang is against Tisha Torres. She lit her up and made quick and easy work of Aguilar in her last fight. Marina Rodriguez, my concern about her as a minus 315 favorite and a $9,100 price tag on DraftKings is that she may get taken down, and if she does get taken down, that means less opportunity to land strikes. And I think what we're going to see is Rodriguez pepper Aguilar up on the feet at the beginning of the round, of first, second, and third round. I see her putting up anywhere between 70 and 80 points in a unanimous victory. What makes things a little interesting, though, is that Aguilar, she seems to be fading fast, and I'm concerned about her durability. She was split wide open by Weili Zhang, and that was just a few months ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if she gets cut early in this fight, and I'm going to be picking Marina Rodriguez. Safe victory here. We've got a banger up next, folks. A banger of a fight. Shayman Moraes against Super Sadiq Youssef. Sadiq Youssef coming in as the minus 140 favorite. Man, Lloyd Irvin fighter who's on the rise. I think that's an understatement. 8,700 on DraftKings. Moraes 11-2. I was at Shayman Moraes, his last fight. I was actually very impressed with his underdog victory against Julio Arce at Madison Square Garden. Moraes, 130 favorite. A lot of folks are expecting him to hang in there and go the distance. This fight right now is expected to not go the distance, sitting at -130. Fight doesn't go the distance. What I like about Yusuf is if Moraes wants to bang and throw heavy hands, Yusuf can match that. If what we saw in the Contender Series fight, Yusuf suffered a foot injury early, I believe it was in the first round, and we saw the versatility of Sadiq Yusuf. And I think that speaks volumes about his ability to do whatever he has to and make adjustments during the fight. I think that's going to help him in this bout against Moraes, because Moraes, we've seen that he fades late, and that may be his downfall here. If this doesn't end in the first or the second round, I wouldn't be surprised to see Yusuf capitalize on a gassed Shayman Moraes late in the third round. But I will be picking Sadiq Yusuf in this matchup. I realize Moraes does throw heavy hands, and when he does, he seems to conserve energy, but when he does strike, he puts a lot into his shots. And Moraes has fought some decent, high-level competition. Let's go there. Well, we could say high-level competition. The fight against Zabit, I was impressed that he survived for as long as he did. So pick is Yusuf in this fight. Next up, this is a fight that should end within the distance. I think folks are going to have to take a stand one way or another if they want to place in GPPs. We have Paul Craig against, we'll call him Kennedy N. Mr. N, 6-0 fighter out of Fortis MMA, $9,000 on the DraftKings side of things. Paul Craig, 7,200 plus 150 underdog. This line has plummeted, and it's a lot closer now. Paul Craig seems to be on the losing side of things in most of his fights, except somehow he grabs a limb, pulls people into his guard, locks up arm bars, triangles, etc. Big guy for the weight class, for the 205-pound weight class. I'm concerned. I think this is one of those cases where we have someone who's winning on the local scene in Kennedy, who you're taking a risk, and what's that saying? Safe money doesn't win. Safe money don't make money. So in this case, I think Kennedy, the striking may be too much for Paul Craig. The Jim Crute fight, that was a fight where I was impressed with Paul Craig's wrestling in that fight. I know people say he's got horrible wrestling, but he was having success against Jim Crute. And Jim Crute, in my eyes, he's pretty good. I know Crute was gassing, or he had an adrenaline dump early in the fight, but Craig hung in there for the better part of 3 rounds. And Kennedy, if he does win this fight, I think it's going to happen early. It just matters if his striking is on point. He's going to need some precise striking to get Craig out of there, and he's got to do it early. So I'm going to roll with Kennedy in this fight. And lastly, that fight was -300. Doesn't go the distance. So I think it would be a good idea to get in on one side of that. Next up, we have battle between two 115-pound women. Karolina Kowalkiewicz against Michelle Waterson. KK coming off of the knockout loss to Andrade. I don't think we're going to see anyone knocked out in this fight. Waterson plus 135, 7,600 on DraftKings. I think we'll see Waterson as one of the highest underdogs on the card, highest owned underdogs on the card. KK 8,600 minus 145. I think this fight is going to take place in the clinch. I think we're going to see a split decision victory, and I think the underdog is going to come through in Waterson. I think there'll be opportunities where Waterson's she's got a lot of her weight is in her lower body, and she is going to use that to her advantage in my eyes. I think we're going to see some takedowns and some scrambles. So give me Waterson at plus 135. KK maybe landing more strikes, but another reason for this, if you're picking underdogs as far as DraftKings go, minus 375 goes to a decision. So you don't have to worry about one of these fighters being finished. Of course, this is MMA, though. There are no certainties in this game, so got to take your chances. Next up, we have Josh Emmett against Michael Johnson at the men's 145-pound division. Josh Emmett, believe it or not, he only has 2 losses on his record. But he's coming off of that devastating loss to Jeremy Stevens, where he was brutally knocked out. Disturbing outcome in that fight, where he absorbed some late strikes. And man, to hear that Emmett is suffered from vertigo for a solid 3 months, and he went through surgeries, and his eyeball was basically just floating around in his by his cheek because his orbital bone was smashed. That's concerning, especially against a striker, a precision striker of Michael Johnson's level. Michael Johnson coming in at the minus 115, on the betting side of things, and 8,400 in DraftKings. Michael Johnson with a 19-13 record, which those are a lot of L's. Michael Johnson can be taken down, and opponents can grind him out. Josh Emmett may be the one to do that if he's smart. If he's listened to his corner, I suspect their game plan is going to be to close distance, make this an ugly fight, drain Michael Johnson. Man, but if this plays out on the feet, it could take only a few strikes to have Josh Emmett's eye start swelling up again, put some doubt into Josh Emmett. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 140. I lean Michael Johnson in this spot. I don't know how folks can put a lot of stock into Josh Emmett, knowing what just happened about a year ago. He's got a real challenge on his hands against someone who is willing to pepper him with strikes. So dangerous fight. But I like Emmett's price tag, and I like Emmett's upside here. But Michael Johnson may be on the safe side of things at 8,400 in cash. But let's see how that plays out. Next up, we have a fight that should end inside the distance. We have Dave Branch against Jack Hermanson. I was at Dave Branch's last fight. Dave Branch 7,900 plus 115 underdog currently. Dave Branch, a lot of success with wrestling, especially early in his fights. Dave Branch, also a Renzo Gracie black belt. He's getting up there in age. I think 36 or 37 years old. He will probably implement the similar game plan as to what he did in the Krzysztof Jotko fight, where he took Jotko down early and basically did enough to win a decision. But problem is, Hermansson is a fighter who, if your gas tank isn't on point, he will make you pay. And Jack Hermansson, I know he's coming off of the Meerschaert victory. I don't think we got to see Hermansson's total package there. We know he does possess a great top game, but what is he going to do if he's on the bottom of Dave Branch for significant length of time? I think Hermansson's got to play this fight at distance. I haven't heard a lot of people mention this, but Branch has, I believe, a 4-inch reach advantage, which could help him in this spot. But there are a couple of factors that are concerning to me. We've got Branch coming off of the knockout loss to Cannonier, Branch's age, and also his limited gas tank. I think those three things are going to be important to consider in this fight. So I like Hermansson in this spot. It is a very close fight, though. And if the sneaky play might be Dave Branch because of recency bias, we saw him knocked out. But we also saw, I know Cannonier, his get-up game is pretty good. I've actually seen Cannonier fight a couple of times. So Branch might be the sneaky play. I suspect we'll see high ownership of Hermansson, but I will probably roll with Hermansson here. We'll see. Let's see. Might split shares. Lastly, but not leastly, we have the main event. We've got Edson Barbosa against Justin Gaethje. A lot of folks are picking one side or the other here. I think that can be dangerous because there are a number of variables that are set to play out in front of us in just a matter of hours. Gaethje, the human highlight reel, and some folks may call him the human punching bag because Gaethje, I was shocked when I found this statistic. He is actually he absorbs strikes at the highest rate in the history of the UFC. Through 4 fights, he's absorbed over 430 significant strikes, and that's through 10 rounds. Gaethje 7,700. He's taking on Edson Barbosa, who sits as a -125 favorite at 8,500 in Draftkings. This fight, man, look at the inside the distance odds. This fight is not expected to go to a decision at -485. Something that concerns me is not only Gaethje's damage meter, but the strikes that Edson Barbosa is going to attempt to hit him with, even when Gaethje is crowding him. That is something to think about. I know a lot of people are thinking that Gaethje is going to come out with a wrestling-heavy game plan. That would be very smart to do. I don't know how anyone can trust that he's going to do that. He seems to get sucked into these wars. How much punishment can the human body absorb? I heard Gaethje in an interview mention that 80% of the time he's going to take Barbosa's soul, but you can't take someone's soul if you're unconscious. And I think Barbosa is gonna knock Gaethje out in this spot. It may take a little while to get it done. Problem I have, I love Gaethje's his will to win, his All-American wrestling background, everything that he stands for, fan-friendly fighting style. But the problem is, you can only dig deep so many times. And I I think that is going to be to his detriment here. Edson Barbosa, I heard an interview recently where he said his whole camp he was preparing for a war. He wants to go. He's prepared for 25 minutes. He's another guy. If he sees an opening, a potential area where a strike may land, he's going to throw everything he has into it. He knows no other way, and I think those are going to pay dividends. The longer this fight goes, I've had this pit in my stomach the past few weeks since this fight was announced that one of these fighters may get seriously injured during this fight, and I don't like to say that, but I am legitimately concerned for Justin Gaethje here. Barbosa, something to also consider about him is this guy also does not give up. He went, man, he fought a hell of a fight and took a hellacious beating from Khabib Nurmagomedov. And then when he was fighting Lee, I was surprised the corner didn't throw in the towel, but he never gave up on himself. And those are things that these fighters can keep in their well. Granted, he was getting his ass handed to him to some extent, but he never gave up on himself. And we saw that even when his back was against the wall, he was landing significant strikes against Lee. And the Hooker fight, talk about getting back on track. His post-fight interview, we're talking about Barbosa, his post-fight interview just told me a little bit about the person that he is. He's a killer in there. And so is Gaethje. So the way I've seen this fight play out is that if Barbosa, even with Gaethje crowding him, if Barbosa gasses and Barbosa throws the kitchen sink at him, then Gaethje's going to have the opportunity to take advantage of that and finish Gaethje. But if Barbosa starts landing these strikes early, and they're going to be heavy strikes, and his corner, the ATT team, has to know that that Gaethje's susceptible to body shots. I think that the more likely outcome is that Gaethje gets finished by Barbosa. But this is one of those fights that I see. It's definitely a card that you want to tell your family members about, tell your friends about. If they are squeamish when it comes to violence, then you can avoid that. But if people are potentially interested in fights and mixed martial arts, this is definitely a card to watch. You can follow me at MMA Oddsbreaker, and then also on Capertech at betmma.tips. I going to be signing out here. I want to thank everybody, and I want to wish everyone a great experience. This is one of those cards where you want to sit back and just soak it up, because we don't get opportunities like this very often to see fighters who are going to get in there and bare their souls for all of us. And Gaethje and Barbosa are going to do that tonight. So enjoy the fights, and best of luck in your DraftKings plays. Bye-bye.